Okay, we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Blue Abroad Show, Monday, the 7th of February, 2022. A special episode, a lot to get through. Maybe not a lot, but a lot of important news to get through. I've got Pommy with me. Hello, mate.
Hey, up, how are we all doing? Are we okay?
I think we're okay now. I don't know how we were this morning when we woke up, but I think quickly the news changed and all of a sudden there's a lot of excitement bubbling.
Oh, I mean, it's all right for me because we won the Calcutta Cup. Rangers won 5-0, so I was on a high anyway. I'd kind of forgotten about the girls, and then the Walshy news was just the icing on the cake. So, yeah, it was a tough weekend though, wasn't it? It's a lot to digest.
A lot to digest because this was going to be I think this was going to be quite an angry show, but it's going to be a bit of both, which is really the story of our experience with the club.
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, our emotions with this club are up and down like Scooby-Doo, aren't they? So, I mean, it's one of them things.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, we're going to get to it. We've got a bit to get through, so we're going to run the intro and get started.
What's going on?
Martin's been very impressive every single time.
I told the Carlton supporters, thank you for all the love.
Dave Simpson playing in Glasgow, and there's a magic moment. Ball inside 50, control! He strikes it beautifully. He got it.
Okay, we'll say good evening to those that are here early. My man, Angelo Gravina, special shout out to him. I actually bumped into him at the front of my place today. We had a good chat. He's always good quality. So good evening to you, Angelo. Josh Cleves is here. Lewis, Taylor, Sandra, Josh Lofts, Nathan, and Maddie. It's good to have you with us and everybody else watching as well. Our members of the channel, always thank you and appreciate you and what you do for us and in allowing us to grow. Pommy, I guess we should just get cracking because we've got to start with the women. We've got to start with what happened on Sunday, unfortunately. I'll start with my experience. So I went to the game with Paul Sebastiani and Kira. They had a game day function for the Guernsey Club members, those that sponsor players, which was nice. Got to watch the game in a nice air-conditioned room, eat some cheese. You'll see a nice photo here of us just gathering around, a nice Carlton respect.
I mean, there's something for everyone in that picture, isn't there? Something for everyone.
Absolutely. Carlton Respects game, obviously a very important cause for the club and for society as a whole. And then, unfortunately, there was a game of football that was being played and the girls were playing. And it was actually, I thought, worse than last week. What did you think? You had to sit here through a watch-along.
Well, I mean, if people want to know about Pom's loyalty to equality, see how angry I get on a live with the women and the men. There's no difference. So, I mean, it's total. It was a total. Basically, I think that is probably the worst loss you'll ever see for this football club, and I hold that in the men as well. Because at times when the men lose, it's because they're shit. It's because they're playing just not good enough. This was just a masterclass of Adelaide having structure and Carlton running around like headless chucks. It was women versus girls. Hey, there we are. There's a new one. I've never used that analogy before. I'm glad we've used that. It was poor. It was really poor. It was basically as one-sided as a contest you'll see. Thankfully, Erin Phillips left her kicking boots in South Australia because that could have been a cricket score. I mean, I thought they were going to beat Joe Root's highest score in Australia at one point. Yeah. So it was poor. And really that should, if anyone takes it serious at the football club, Harford should be gone by 9 o'clock tonight.
Well, I was very angry today, and I sort of thought to myself, like, how do we talk about it? How do we discuss it? How do we dissect it? How do we keep our heads and stay practical? And is it really just about getting rid of a coach? And, I am mindful of just resorting to, pressing the red button, sack the coach every time things go sour. And then I sort of thought to myself again, I'm like, well, what was the way to sum up what that game was yesterday and what that experience was yesterday? And again, the posting on social media and the reports coming out from the club after the game really had no reference to the result. It was all about the cause, which again, a very important cause. They did a wonderful job in doing the walk before the game and all of that. And I, again, left the ground, left Icon Park, our home, with such a rich history, saying to myself, is it really about winning a premiership? Like, what is this really about? And then, Pommy, you've just said it there about the effort. That was the worst game that you've probably seen them play. Well, I had to listen because whenever something like this happens in any game, that immediately I listen to the press conferences. So this is what Harford said after the loss to the Crows.
And we're fully aware of their class and talent coming in. But as you say, I think what we produced from an intent and an effort perspective today was a bit different to the last month. So it's a step forward for us. It's certainly not where we want to be, but it's a step forward for us. And we showed that, a few things happened in that first half that might go our way, a bounce of the ball or whatever. Milliseconds and millimoments, we called them. If they go our way, we put some scoreboard pressure on and all of a sudden the game's a bit different at half time.
Was the Courtney Johns winning the goal scorer in those moments?
Well, yeah, it's absolutely one of those moments, yeah. And I think we had half a dozen or 8 of them in the first half in particular that could have really been great opportunities for us to hit the scoreboard. I reckon we found a couple of ways to get past their defence pretty quickly in the middle third of the ground. We just didn't capitalise. So they did a great job sticking to the plan. In the end, the class overrun us.
A few notable positives. Obviously, Mimi, her first game from an ACL, almost probably your best player, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was phenomenal.
Okay.
So good. Quality balance.
Number one, what is funny? What is funny? Why does he giggle? Okay. Number one. Number two, I don't know. From my lens, that effort was not good enough. Yeah, there was some solid effort in the first quarter and a half. Let's just call it the first half. We'll be polite. And there was some solid effort. But to say that was a step forward over the last month, I found that to be. It's like I was being spoken to, because I'm assuming when he does press conferences, it's really for the for the AFLW community. But really, who's watching that? It's the Carlton fans. And I just found myself being spoken to like I'm an idiot, like I'm watching something else. I thought anything forward of centre that I'm watching at the moment is completely diabolical. Nick Stevens, Darcy Vescio, Georgia G. It's not like, we went into the season with so much optimism that we had found a new way to move the ball forward and score. We're going with a new system. We got rid of Taylor Harris. To move the ball quicker, to find some more scoring opportunities over the top in general play. And ultimately, I'm left wondering, what is this? What is actually going on? And I almost feel uncomfortable to criticize, but it's like, is anybody going to call it out for what it is? Like, it's embarrassing for the club.
Well, there's 2 trains of thought I've got from this. From a football perspective, in any sport, if you use the E word, you probably shouldn't be qualified to talk about professional sport. Effort is a non-negotiable in any train of life when you're getting paid for it. I don't praise my kids and give them rewards for effort for using the toilet. Once they've done it, it's a non-negotiable. I expect them to try and go to the toilet. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to praise them every time. And these are full-grown adults. So if an adult needs to be praised for trying, they're probably not going to amount to much in their lives. It should be a non-negotiable. You reward results. You reward the endeavour of results. And I find that really worrying when he said we stuck to the plan. I think from a football perspective, this side has got smaller. So we could go into the list management. The list management has been woeful, but what you see is what you get. We'll leave that to one side. Your side has got progressively smaller. It's lost all of its targets around the ground. It's lost workhorses in the midfield. All this would allude that you will now spread the play and do what sides do who don't have grunt in the midfield and don't have tall targets. They'll play quicker. They'll play more fast-paced, short kicking style, short ball movement style, and then look to move it inside 50 a lot closer to the goals and look to play it along the floor. Our game plan hasn't changed for 5 years. And the reason that Carlton is shit now, it isn't because you've lost players. It's because this game style worked when AFLW first came about, because simply the women couldn't kick, couldn't mark. And we were blessed with 8 players on our list who could do this, right? And that was 7 more than any other club. As this talent has got better, and look across the games this week, the talent from 5 years ago is in another level. We're talking VFL to Pakenham reserves. That's how quick it is, how much it's improved. It's just been found out. And then if we go on to the list management and Harford's interview, I think there's a lot of people in the AFLW department have been employed, 1, because they're nice, and 2, because it gives them an in into the football career. It isn't taken seriously by Carlton Football Club. The proof is in the pudding. It wasn't part of the review. And not many clubs in the world would reach finals and then bomb the year after, then have a mass clear out of players, a very public exit where the coach was fighting a player, and not review that. In fact, I don't think many sports teams would. I don't think many amateur sports teams would as well. I think they'd be asking some questions. Until we start taking it serious, until we talk, and I'm talking real serious, you're getting people in like Goddard, you're getting people in like Petter Searle, actual football people with nous and integrity into the women's game. The women are having an injustice. They want equality. They want equal pay. The clowns that are leading them are pushing them further away. And the girls, they're a lot better than what they're showing you. A lot better. But they're being sent out to battle with a wooden sword. And what you see is what you get. You pay peanuts, you get monkeys. And at the moment, we've got a load of monkeys running that AFLW department. Everyone should go at the end of the year, clean slate, and look at it as its own bona fide program, because it's the fucking brand. That's what people forget. This isn't Carlton women. This is Carlton. That's the brand. And that is representing the men as well, and us. It's not good enough.
No, it's not. Lewis has made a very generous $100 donation. That's very nice of you, mate. Thank you very much. And he says, the club needs to set standards for the girls. I've had enough of Harford. We need structure and direction. We're going nowhere. I want a coach that can inspire and motivate, not a clown. And at the end of the day, I'm trying to really stay practical here and not just get emotional and angry. There is just a lack of focus and intensity. And I'm talking from the very top of it. Yes, I understand, the environment and the tools in which the players are given to perform and all of that. But Matty Prespakis on numerous occasions had a contest, lost the initial contest, let the contest go away. The second, third, fourth efforts were not there, sort of giving up on contests. When I see Karen Harrington make simple skill errors, I can see how much pressure she's under. Laluifi's turning the ball over uncharacteristically. Gab Pound is turning the ball over uncharacteristically. I don't know if it's a lack of focus or if it's a lack of having the right people in the right places on the ground. I'm really struggling to understand how they expect to grow this thing with the performances that they're putting in, because it's embarrassing. There was half a crowd there compared to what there was in the North Melbourne game. The Adelaide cheer squad were up and about. I could hear the Adelaide fans more than what I could hear our fans, and with good reason, because we only scored 1 goal. And I see Charlotte Wilson in full forward, and I'm thinking of Brendan Bolton putting Jacob Wiedering at full forward in his second year, and like I'm literally bemused, because I see functions going on, I see causes happening, and then I see everyone networking, and then I see a football game being played, but no one's really watching it, it seems. And the reason why I'm saying that is because 3 games in a row have been the exact same shellacking. It's the exact same result. And then I hear the coach talk about how the effort's there and it's an improvement and a step forward. Am I watching something else? Darcy Vescio's kicked 1 goal in 5 games. I'm expecting more from Darcy. I'm expecting Darcy to create more. Darcy's not a lead-up forward, so we can't talk about the supply not being perfect to Darcy, because Darcy does their best work on the ground in spillage. So the shitter the ball is on the in the forward line, it almost benefits them. And And I'm just wondering, at what point is anybody giving them the home truths? And then throughout the week, I saw this clip on Instagram that was reshared to the club's website. And initially, I'm pissed off. I'm thinking,
don't do it, Tess, to yourself. Don't do it to yourself.
Initially, I'm seeing it and I'm pissed off. And then I'm sort of self-correcting myself, saying, no, listen, you've got to create a positive, fun environment. Then I see the way they play, and then I put the two dots together. And as soon as the siren goes at the end of the game, I'm left thinking, well, what did I see visually from a training perspective on the socials this week? And yeah, it's all fun and games. And like, what is this all about? Like, is this program meant to be something like a platform to inspire young women to play football? Because I think it is. And I think it's already been done. They're playing. We're here. The AFLW exists. We're here. The women now have, young girls now have a pathway to play football professionally in the future. So we're there. So I just feel like there needs to be an evolution of, okay, we're here now. Let's not get complacent. We now need to start focusing and winning and inspiring the next generation of Carlton winners, because I'm watching the brand be diminished by the day, by the week when I watch this women team.
The biggest mistake people make, and you said it yourself, and I think it's interesting, working in development, I get the privilege of working with men and women. And the biggest thing that you said there, my take at, is you're afraid to criticize. And that's kind of culture because they're women. And there is, I'm not saying it's a sexy thing, but there is a stigma that women can't handle criticism. I can tell you now, some of the best people I give feedback to are females because they love self-development. They're probably more self-aware than men. If I get a man in a room and tell him some home truths, he's straight defensive. Where genuinely speaking, on the whole, a woman will take it on board if it's said in the right manner. It's not a criticism, it's an aid of development. I think what you're seeing at the moment is a football club that has picked people on that stereotypical female basis. No one in the world gives 100%. The worst judge of 100% is yourself because you have self-preservation. You need someone to come in, and everyone needs coaching to say 100% is actually here. This is what 100% will get you. At the moment, you're giving 100% of what you're comfortable with, but 100% of actual output will give you this. And I think what you're seeing here at this football club is a club that's stagnated. It's used to it. Hartford is used to being the coach. They're used to Hartford's ways. I want to see Maddie Prasparkis challenged. She won't be here next year, mark my word. She'll be somewhere else because she wants to be challenged. And it's okay, people saying that off the field stuff is distracting them. I disagree. I think they're not being challenged on the field. They are being challenged off the field. So I think the primary focus of our football club, and I hope I'm wrong, I genuinely think this football club says the AFLW department is here for one reason. It's great when we talk to Hyundai that we can say part of our club is pro-gay rights, is pro-female equality. It's all this singing and dancing stuff. We don't do it with the men, though. We just shove it off with the women. But that's on your brand. Where what it should be is these females are treated like the men. They are carrying a bigger lineage than the men because they play at our fucking home ground. That is the biggest honour you can give a footballer in blue. You protect Icon Park, Prince's Park, whatever you want to call it. For me, the club needs to be real. It needs to conduct a review. It needs to be harsh with itself. It needs to change the wording of have a good day out and start saying, get down there and support our football club. They aren't aliens. They're just human beings, right? Wearing our Guernsey. They need our support. But we need a club in return that we're proud of. And at the moment, it is a political vehicle. And I can't criticize anyone who says, oh, the women's game's just there for social equality, because that is how it's sold. And what I saw on the field, there isn't any effort in the football department. And it actually breaks my heart. I actually find it heartbreaking. My kids are inspired by that as boys and young girls. And that's the bollocks and that's the rubbish mindset that we're feeding these women, because they're very talented footballers. And list for list, I followed these girls in junior careers. They're just as good as anyone else in the AFLW. The problem is no structure, no motivation. And this is the effort and intensity they're allowed to output. Team selection, it's so one-dimensional and it's so obvious. And that's the standard they're setting. They want to be nice. They want to have a happy club. But the problem is no one is wanting to stay, as case in point. No one wants to stay. It's not a happy club. People can't wait to leave it because they're not challenged.
Yeah, I just am left wondering, has the essence of the club really been taught to them? That's all. And I think the quickest way to help grow the game, our women's team, I should say, the quickest way to help grow the supporter base is start winning games. Start playing finals football, get into a position to start really attacking these good sides, because the moment we're in finals and playing at Icon Park, we're going to be able to attract more people who probably don't watch the AFLW, but you know what? Carlton are in finals and playing at Icon Park. They'll come and they'll give it a chance, and so on and so forth. And I just think at the moment we're doing a massive disservice to the club and the supporters. We're not doing a disservice to the socially responsible corporates. We're doing a great service because we're doing all the functions that we need to. But on the field, it just seems to not be changing, and everything's happening rapidly. The season's short. We're 1-4. The season's dead. We're going to come up against Freo. We're already thinking about that being a loss. So what? I don't know. And to be honest, I don't want to give it any more time on the show because I'm not getting anything in return. I'm not getting an effort in return. So why should I give it more time than what it deserves? We probably spent 15 minutes more than what we should have talking about them because we only got 15 minutes of gameplay from them on Sunday, and it's bullshit.
And a lot of people feel like that. And until the club start realizing that people want sport, do you know what I mean? Your social enterprises are beautiful when they're in conjunction with sport. The issue you've got is when the social enterprises outweigh what you're actually there for. And the Carlton brand is football first and foremost. That gives us the platform. For me, and the final thing I'll say on it is until the club starts acting accountable and responsible and treating it like the professional sport it says it is, you're going to get these outputs and you're going to get people leaving. And that, for me, is the biggest travesty of all this, that we've plowed 5 years into it when we could have just sat back and not done it.
And just waited until 2023 like Essendon did and just have a club there. And, you know, look at the green shoots there. I mean, yeah, Mimi Hill came back, was outstanding, and obviously don't want to, sour that, but I don't want to talk about individuals. And I don't even think Mimi Hill wants to be spoken about like this because Mimi wants to win. Look at the hunger that she displayed. And, you know, then the conversation comes to, but, you know, they're not paid enough. Well, I'd love to be sitting on a beach being a full-time YouTuber, you know, traveling the world. I put 60 hours a week into this. I deserve to be paid a lot for it, but it doesn't work like that. You've got to earn the right. You've got to keep chipping away. And it just seems like we're, you know, whether this is our women's program or just as a society where no one wants to eat the dirt anymore. No one wants to enjoy the process of grinding and rising anymore. And I don't know. I don't know what happens. I'm going to watch this week. Of course I'm going to watch, you know, and stick fat and all of that and all these nice words. But like, how much longer? I don't have patience for this. I don't.
For me, Dan Harford has a huge responsibility. He creates a brand that attracts the next generation into this game, which then will allow them to be paid full time. So I would say any coach of an AFL football job has a huge, huge role to play in this. Gets an attractive brand, Fremantle, attractive brand, Adelaide, an attractive brand. And eventually, from your hard work and endeavour, you will get the next generation being full-time paid. At the moment, honestly, just hearing Harford speak, the minute he laughs, that shows nervous energy.
Yep.
You can't be a leader if you're nervous.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? You can't be like that. If he finds that funny, it's horrible. And I genuinely feel bad for these girls because I'm telling you now, under the right guidance, under the right coach, they would be a top 5, top 6 side. Do you know what I mean? You've got some talented girls there. Courtney Jones. You've got Kez Harrington. You've got Mimi Hill, Grace Egan. You've got Georgia G, Darcy Vesio. You've got some very, very top-level players. Brian Moody, who was out this week. Very, very good players that if you build a team around them, they'll be okay. Do you know what I mean? We've got better talent on our list than a lot of other lists. Problem is, watch them play. It's straight from the 90s. And I'm sorry to say, 90s football is dead. It died with Cooter when he retired. It's a modern day game. The women are playing a modern day game. So are the men. Till we start ending that and start thinking progressively, because that's what we say we are. We're progressive. Start thinking progressively on the field and get these girls a proper coach. And it needs to be now. And maybe Simpson's the guy. Maybe Simpson's the guy to tide them over, but it ain't this guy, and it ain't our beloved GM of the women either.
I had a comment here before that I've lost, but it said something along the lines of, like, is this the prelude to the men's season? And it's funny how 12 months changes things, because 12 months ago we're probably saying, gee, the women show a lot more heart than what the men do. That's completely flipped on its head. And I'm just worried what are the values amongst the club. And anyway, I kind of want to move on because they don't, like, it just doesn't deserve any more time than what it's been given, if I'm being honest. And I just feel uncomfortable talking about it.
Let's talk about something important, like he's the best in the league. Best in the league. Sammy Walshy, the best in the league.
Yes. So in other news, in great news, Sam Walsh re-signed or signed a contract extension for 4 years, which will tie him to the club to the end of 2026, which was, I don't know. I knew it was in the mix. I knew there'd be talks. I kind of assumed that it would drag on a little bit because a smart manager would probably tell Walshy to hold off as much as he can and get as much out of the contract as he can for his future to set himself up. But I don't know. It was a pleasant surprise, and it really brightened the day, and it really set the tone for the year. What was your reaction, Pommy, and you guys at home? What was your reaction?
First thing was an absolute bamboozled that the club didn't have a 6-month media journey to this point. I thought the writing was on the wall. You had Dangerfield grooming like he does to try and get a player over to Geelong. And I thought, here we go. This is going to be it. 9 months of will he, won't he? Oh, my sources tell me this and all that malarkey. I love the fact it just was dropped on us. And I love even more why Sam Walsh, how he spoke. And I thought the most exciting bit, everyone will say Walsh was mature and stuff. I thought the big bit was what Voss described him as. And I thought that was absolutely phenomenal. You know, his personality and what endears him to him and how he stands out. And I thought that was a huge thing because if Voss thinks that, so do the players. And I think this is a great thing to underline. 2022, we know our best players stay in no matter what. No bollocks in the media. It's just about the football. And that's just the way this Pom likes it.
Well, if you came for Kool-Aid, you're in for a treat because I've got a little clip for you. And speaking of what Voss said about Walsh, this completely turned me upside down, and I completely started buzzing after listening to this.
Mate, today is Walshy has signed for the next 4 years. So where are you, mate? I think, you know, like one of the first things when we turned up, the first chat I had with you is about a new set of eyes, and it's been great to get to know all of you. I guess in this particular instance with Walshy, there's 2 things that really stand out for me: your competitive spirit and your humility, and they hold you in great stead. You know, the appetite to be able to want to get better every single day, I think, you know, is absolutely, leads this group so well. It really stands out, and for me, you're in some really elite company. So we're not just talking about just what goes on here, but also guys that I've worked with in the past. Who was your hero you had on the wall?
Oh, just a few of the Brizzy boys with Brownie and yourself up there. And
Blackie?
Blackie was up there, yeah.
Blackie was the other one. So I reckon there's a couple of guys that you just highlighted there. With Blackie, and Luke. And there was no one that prepared better than those 2. And you're exactly the same. So you're in really elite company. Travis Boak's another player that I've worked with recently that prepares himself amazingly. You do that really well as well, mate. So you're in real elite company. It's by no surprise that you get the results. So we can talk about worth as a written format, and we can talk about worth as the intangibles, right? So the intangibles you provide is just great leadership with the way you go about things, mate. So fantastic news. So well done.
I don't know if it's just me, but like when Vossi speaks, I mean, I just, you hang off every word. You believe it. you believe it because you know he's done it, he's been there, he's got that aura. And then you think about Sam Walsh, Vossi was one of his heroes growing up. He now works for him, and he's now being, praised by his hero and comparing him to, his champion premiership teammates in Simon Black and Luke Power. And you just can't help but, get your imagination flowing. Like, surely that is inspiring this group.
Mate, spot on. And you see, that was the acceptable use of the E word, effort. I don't mind praising effort when it's part of your journey to the output. And what I mean by that is he was talking about his endeavour in training. And imagine that as a role model to the young players. Because Walsh isn't good because he's got some God-given talent. Walsh is good because he works hard. Do you know what I mean? He works hard. We heard Diesel when he was on the show with me and Riley talk about he's insatiable. He's asking questions every 5 minutes. How do I get better at this? How do I do this? Why do I need to do this? How can I get this better? That kind of influence around the dressing room would make half of this list suddenly catapult into another stratosphere. And hear Voss talk. I think that's the biggest takeout for me. Like, I've put Walsh on the back burner. I know he's good. He gets me excited in ways I didn't know possible. But listen to Voss talk, man.
Bro.
To the point. No fucking analogies. No glitz, glamour. To the point. Being compared to Boki turns me on because Boki is a man who defies logic. He gets older, but he gets fitter. He gets quicker. He gets smarter. What a flag time. Fuck it.
We spoke about it I think it was towards the end of last year in terms of what's the messaging we're being told as fans and as supporters and members and the like. And the one thing that Walsh said today that just really hit me right between the eyes as I'm reading it was he spoke about how he's never taken it for granted what it means to pull on the blue Guernsey, and it represents so much to so many people. But it was this sentence here. It was, we have a real focus to make Carlton people proud, earn respect back for this football club and everyone we represent. And in that language, I sensed a couple of things. The acknowledgement that we've lost the respect. It's good to hear it come from the club as opposed to hearing it from the fans, talking about it after every bad loss. And I'm not here. I don't think I've heard anyone say this preseason in any interview, the time for excuses is over. It's time to show, we're going to, finals football's on the agenda. It's not about that. It's literally, they're so silent and they're so low key. And I've got to give kudos where it's due. Like it's a good sign. It's good. I'm not hearing fluff. If there's any fluff, it's probably coming from us.
Spot on. And I think what's important to remember is, although we're a proud club, look at social media as an example of where Carlton's name is in the AFL. Today, Terry got bantered by St Kilda. St Kilda, man. Like, the only thing that's everyone knows about St Kilda is it's got a fucking beach. And Shane Warne used to play for their reserve side. You know what I mean? They are as irrelevant as a football club can be. And now they feel like they're on the equal plane to say, oh, you're going to get up and about, you're playing pre-season against us, it's your granny. That is how far we've fallen in the AFL world. We are now Mickey Mouse. And that is it. We need to earn the respect. And I think this playing group needs to earn the respect and pride back from the fans because we haven't lost it. And Walsh is one of them players that, come round one, Richmond will be like, I wish we had him in our side. And it's people like that will make them start wishing in the next 2 or 3 years, fuck, I wish we were Carlton.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look at what they've done. And that is how you get it back. I am excited by this. I am super excited.
Yes. And just to clarify, Adrian's asking, how did I get bantered? Long story short, good friend of mine, Jake, who runs Saints TV, the St Kilda fan channel, he put a post up that we're playing each other in a preseason game, which I'll get to in a moment. And I wrote a comment with the eyes emoji, and then he basically said, I hope you're ready for your grand final. And I'm thinking to myself, is this where I'm at in life? I'm being bantered by a St Kilda supporter talking about grand finals. St Kilda.
What a fucking liberty. I tell you, what a liberty.
But
I can't believe you got bantered by someone whose every one of his thumbnails looks like a 90s bit of pop art. Fuck me. This is how bad we are.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that's exciting me as well, I can also understand the notion of, like, we've been to a couple of open trainings, and what I'm seeing at training is the matchups, which is really exciting me, because we've got two teams. It's Walsh against Chera pushing each other. It's Hewitt on Cripps pushing each other. It's Charlie and Jacob Wiedering pushing each other. But come round one, that midfield group, they're on the same team. They're on the same team. And it's, you don't want to get too excited, but after hearing what I'm hearing and after seeing the buy-in and the leadership shown by Sam Walsh to get it done before the season, because think about how much time he saves, how much time and negative energy and negative commentary is saved by having this announcement, combined with the excitement. I'm telling you, man, today it hit me. We're going to do it. I'm really, really starting to see the light. And I don't know if I'm just getting sucked in again, but I felt good today.
He's turning. He's turning.
I'm absolutely turning.
Got him back. Got him back. Found him.
I've been so good all preseason. I've been so chill. But today I was pumped.
Honestly, I felt that I know there's a lot of negative Nancies out there, I call them, because they won't give the club a bit of respect in the terms of the club have said they're going to try and change. They're going to change the messaging. They're going to change the interaction with us. I thought, big shout out to Luke Sayers for actually keeping this fucker under wraps. Do you know what I mean? There was no inclination this was going to happen. We did actually learn first. And I agree with you. And I think just touching slightly on the women here, this is what upsets me. I've seen a huge change in the men's preparations and their wording and what they promised me 3 months ago in this review. I've actually fucking seen it. Do you know what I mean? They aren't bigging themselves up. They aren't singing and dancing. They're at work. They're at work. They're working the right way. Like you said, Hewitt versus Cripps, two big boys trying to stop each other. Walsh versus Chera, two creative guys going against each other. Wheater in Kerno, Wheater in Mackay. That's how you prepare. Do you know what I mean? Because they're never going to face anyone as hard on the field as they do now. And credit to Sayers, he made a promise that we were going to be the first to know, and he's backed that in. So congrats. And hopefully this now comes to the club as well, all across the board. I want to see a united club, but yeah, man, get excited, man, because if they didn't make, they could have made the 8 last year, and they were, honestly, they were led by Mickey Mouse's clubhouse. There was opportunities. They're led by a big hunk winner who's had 5 years of being someone's skivvy, and now he's got the horns back.
Well, he's gone back and he's eaten the dirt, mate. He's been willing to eat the dirt.
He's made freaking Hinkley coffees for 5 years. He's laid in bed at night thinking, where did I go wrong? I know now. Man, we're back, baby. We're back. And I tell you what, Jake, if you're watching this, you enjoy it, because it's going to be the closest you get to finals when you see my boys batter you lot for 6 quarters for bants, mate.
I think there's an important point there about it not being leaked, because news of this gravity, like, I didn't see any of it anywhere. Not that I was looking too hard for it, but didn't get a screenshot from Big Footy or somewhere. Like, it just, and part of the review that we were told was information getting leaked out. So ticks so far, but there are still games to be played, and that's what's most important.
Mate, we're in a good place. We're in a good place, man. We're in a good place. Yeah. I genuinely feel we're in a good place. Like, sometimes I fake it for you lot to get a bit excited and G myself up, but I genuinely am in a comfortable place that come fan cams round 1, I'm going to be half cut, just giving you 20 minutes of songs. Like, legit. Probably live streaming me having a wee on Punt Road. Do you know what I mean? Like,
as long as we don't get you, as long as we don't get you retiring by round 2, mate, it's good.
Well, see how long it takes me to retire this time.
The other issue I wanted to bring up was tampering, and it's not a big issue, but it was something I noticed last week when Patrick Dangerfield made commentary about Sam Walsh's contract and how he would give him a 10-year deal worth $10 million. And it was a compliment, and it was almost a throwaway comment. And tampering is, for those who aren't aware of what it is, it's very ripe in the NBA. There are specific tampering rules where anyone in any team cannot speak about any player or any contract situation, just to prevent any sort of, I don't know, insider trading type situation. And I wonder, is that something like, did you feel that with Dangerfield's comments? Because I saw a bit of the reaction. My initial reaction was, why is he talking about Sam Walsh? He shouldn't be talking about, especially the AFLPA president. He should not be talking about any player in that regard.
We know what I feel about Dangerfield. Complete, absolute melt. Like, honestly, I didn't like it, but I expect it to go on, and Dangerfield just does whatever he wants and he gets away with it. Like, people talk about Dustin Martin gets special treatment. Dangerfield does what he wants when he wants. Do you know what I mean? And for someone like Dangerfield who complains about pay, complains about how hard they worked, complains about the mental ramifications they have being pro sportsmen in a social media world, the guy brings... Think what that did to young Walsh, because that brought a line of questioning that if he hadn't done this today, is a big fucking distraction for him. And Dangerfield complains about not being able to play at Melt Park in Geelong for a final and how that's unfair. Imagine the distraction that put Walsh has. So I can't stand the guy. The sooner Dangerfield retires, the happier I'll be. I never forgave him during COVID, and he did that post about spare a thought for people who aren't working, and then 2 days later thanked some Geelong company for building a 200k koi farm in his back garden. Complete flog, man. Absolute tit.
Yeah, it's the character of Dangerfield is not... I mean, Geelong players in general, it's just... I feel like they've got what we want, to be honest. And I think it resonates from back in the day. But
yeah, 200k koi farm. That's what we want.
The next thing is the preseason update. So we got an email today. We got an update today from the club. There's a few things going on, a few interesting things. So first things first, on Thursday, the 17th of February, which is in 10 days, we are going to have a joint training session with Hawthorn. It's closed to the public. You'll be able to follow along via social media. So that's one of the next big things coming up. And then the following Thursday, the 24th of February, we are playing against St Kilda, as we mentioned before. It's an interesting time slot. It's 10 a.m. on a Thursday. Members are able to go there as long as you've got your barcode. The email's there. It's a really interesting process. I'm not sure if anyone's tried to get tickets. I tried to. The site kept crashing. I'm not really sure what's going on. They need to find a way to streamline that process. It's a little bit weird because it seems like every time I want to register for a training session or an AFLW game or a session like this, I need to sign up to a new thing. I need to tick a box that says I would like updates.
Old. The internet affected him already.
Make it easier. Make it streamline the process. And so, yeah, Thursday, the 24th, 10 a.m., we're playing against St Kilda in a practice match at Icon Park. So for those of you who aren't aware, that is what's happening.
The Battle of the Pom household.
Yes.
I like this one. I really like this game because this is the game for me that what I'm taking out of these practice games is I'm going in it with a soccer mindset. Not worried about the result. What I'm worried about is how these guys line up with their opposition in terms of fitness, running with capacity. I'm hoping that Carlton Football Club are going to use this properly and not as a way to try and fluff up our excitement because we beat a shit side, but actually as a big, intense training session. So this is a side that we should smash. We want to be an 8 side. St Kilda shouldn't be anywhere near us. Then the week after, we've got Melbourne. Then we get that brilliant comparison. This is how you win it. This is what it takes to win it. So looking forward to this one. Looking forward to seeing Cripps versus Steele because that's a guy that probably gives Cripps nightmares, isn't it? Because Steele, for some reason, does know how to get up on him. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Really looking forward to it.
Yes. And just I'm seeing some comments here. It will be streamed on KO. So if you can't be there and you're at uni or you're at school or wherever you are and you need to have a little streaming device in the ear, KO is your friend.
You'll be able to stream me as well. your Uncle Pom give you blow-by-blow accounts of what's going on with
Yes.
songs.
There will also be a watch along because we are just sick in the head like that. But it's mate, we're 30, I believe it's 38 or 37 days away from round one. We have another game against Melbourne coming up, which is really the final test run. And I like that. I like that fixture. I like the fact that we play against them at this time of the year and just to see what they're doing. And no one's obviously going to be playing with 100% intensity, but I think there are things that, you can see and trends that you can spot in the preseason that will rear their head in the real thing. And it happened last year. We saw how much we were leaking possession in the middle of the ground during the preseason last year. And that is essentially what happened in the season. So I don't know, you guys at home, how much weight do you actually put into the preseason games?
I think I actually went back and watched the preseason games back the other week because I don't know, I think I've got something mentally wrong with me. But I just like going back and being disappointed. But if you actually watch that Essendon game, it is obvious about the fourth quarter. You see in the fourth quarter, the lads stop running. Then the game after against Saints, you actually see the difference in energy levels, that there's a huge drop-off. And then throughout the year, as them quarters wore on, you saw it from the main team. Do you know what I mean? That they just struggled to keep up with that intensity levels. So that is something that I'm looking forward to really analysing. Is Cripper going to run with Steele all game? When we went to that Collingwood game as well, it was really noticeable that we won the first four quarters. And then them last two quarters, they just went mental, didn't they? And we didn't think of anything of it at the time. But looking back, the writing was on the wall. These boys couldn't keep up what they were doing for the whole length of the game. So that's going to be an exciting thing for me. That's what I'm going to take out of it. Not the result. Can these boys keep up, though?
Yeah. I had a read today of Jono Baruch, a friend of ours here at the channel. He does some work for the Inner Sanctum, and his season preview article came out. He had a best 22 that came out. I think that's now going to be the trend that's coming out over the next few weeks. I'm going to get mine done shortly as well. I just kind of want to see one more session before I put it in there. But it's interesting to note. I'm seeing it when I ask people and chat to people. There are quite a few people that are having Owies and Durden and having two small forwards there, as opposed to just having the one. And I'm really interested to see two things from our preseason matches, because I kind of know who's going to be there in the midfield, but I don't know what the defensive 6 or 7 will look like, and I don't know what the forward 6 or 7 will look like. We can all pretty much tell 4 or 5 of them, but it's those 5th, 6th, and 7th options, and they're the ones, and they're the ones that I'm really excited to see. And that unknown might have something to do with why we're a little bit more cautious as well, because we don't know.
I think it's a good thing, though. I mean, I did my rolling 22 after training, and I'm going to do that every week. I can't remember if I had Durden, but I think I did have both of them in. I'm pretty sure I did. I might have not. I might have lied. But I think that's a good thing. That I actually think that's a reason to be positive, because usually at this time of year, I've got 18 names and then 4 guys that I'm throwing darts at.
Yeah.
And being like, and I'm using these phrases, which I hate myself for. Oh, hopefully Dow will make it now, though. Surely he's a top 5 pick. And I'm throwing people in for just banter, really. Now there is genuinely 26 to 30 players that probably have a good shout in there. Like Kennedy's a great one. Does he come in structurally? Can he play in that position? But number 2, is he best 22? Argument last year he was. There's that real great thing that we always said it last year, if he's our 23rd player, we're pretty good as a football team. And now I reckon you'll see a real different lineup, like Chris Breeder there, Jack Carroll, another guy that we're falling in love with, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I left those 2 training sessions telling myself, tell you what, that Paddy Dow spot in the midfield, that 6th or 7th selected midfielder, like if Jack Carroll keeps impressing the way he has been, there's no reason why he won't get a chance.
He's got some biceps on him, as well. I tell you,
he's a
good-looking boy.
Yeah,
he's my wingman. If I was single, wingman there, he's my mate.
You'd bring Jack Carroll on.
Taylor, Lockie O'Brien. I went to that training session. saying, I believe my first words to Taylor were, can't wait to go to this training session and go home and hear everyone tell me, oh, Brian's having a breakout year. And the guy tore it up for 2 quarters and I became his best fan. Like, do you know what I mean? Oh, Brian did look mighty good, I have to say, on the wing.
He did. No, he sure did. The other bit of news that we should cover is the Tom De Koning injury. It's being downplayed. Reports of a blood clot in the shoulder or shoulder area, a blood clot in general. That would explain why he had the red vest on during training. It was so fascinating being there watching it because they were doing match simulation and then you had Tom De Koning just roaming the ground, marking the ball, kicking the ball with an assistant coach while the match simulation was happening around him, seemingly like Tom didn't exist. It was a fascinating look, and I was wondering what it was. So turns out it's just he had a minor surgical procedure to remove a blood clot, is from what I'm reading around. Don't really have a time frame. I don't really know how to judge it. To be honest, having Pitto as a number 1 ruck option is probably something I would have had anyway for round 1. But obviously don't want to have a situation where, we're at round 6 and Tom's still not available. So I don't really know. I don't really remember anyone having a blood clot and how that heals. So that's one to look out for as well.
Oh, I mean, it's a concern, isn't it, as well? We've got to look at it that way, that it's a concern in the terms of, we look at what happened with the women, 1 ruck person on the list. With COVID, that's the curveball. We can't prepare for that. This can hit you anywhere. It's not like, with, like, say, if you had 2 ruckmen on the list, you can maybe do light duties if one of them's a bit sore and nurse them through it. We don't know if they're going to go to Coles and get a ham sandwich and get a side order of COVID and be out for a week. So it is a concern not having that particular position. TDK is a concern, though, isn't he? Because the poor guy just can't buy a string of luck, can he? He can't buy it.
I guess the positive is he's on his feet. It's not a structural injury where he has to, he can't lift, or I guess he can't lift if he's got a blood clot in his shoulder, but he definitely seems to not be having any contact. And, I was really worried when I first read the word blood clot. I'm thinking to myself, oh gosh, vaccine, blood clot, like, does it match up? Is it relative? Is it not? I don't know. Is it just a random blood clot? I don't even know where the blood clot is. So I'm just mindful of that. And it begs the question as well. We have 2 ruckmen on the list who could play in any given week and play at the level, and I'd be relatively comfortable. And that's him and Pitto. After that, am I comfortable in having Alex Murkoff play round 1? Probably not, if I'm honest. I still think he's in a development phase. I don't think he's quite ready yet. And there's been talks about, obviously, we've got Josh Cripps there as a train-on player, and he could be having that final spot. I probably wouldn't be comfortable with him being in the ones yet either, because I think he's also in a real development phase. So just something to look out for.
Yeah, and also Carlton added as well big Michael Lewis from Sandringham Dragons to that training on spot as well, which would allude to me that they are looking at a backman now. It would allude to me that they're looking at a tall, maybe, I hate to do this, but Lewis Young may be that option that they're looking at as the emergency ruck.
Okay, fair.
Which I'm not a big fan. Like the comments saying as well, Carlton may look at Gold Coast and say, look, JSOS, he can take minutes. Do you know what I mean? He can take 20 minutes off. So we can rotate people through there. Probably not something you want to do full-time, though, but definitely an option, say, if, Pittonet needs a break, it is a full-time job now, being a ruckman. Interesting times. I mean, it hate to be critical at the end, but it does make me think, did we not think about this 3 months ago in the trade window? Maybe trying to bring in a 35, 34-year-old ruckman just to see us through, knowing TDK isn't the most reliable in terms of injuries. I do believe it's a blood clot of the shoulder, though, and it was very routine. So I can't imagine he's out for too long. It's just one of them things, and it does make you think, especially when you look at the women, because these COVID protocols have decimated the women's game, and the men it's going to be just as bad. Do you know what I
Correct.
mean? Unless something dramatically changes. And I believe someone told me the AFL protocols are for the year, regardless of government input. So even if, say, tomorrow the mandates went, the AFPA signed this off for the year, so they won't be changed. So interesting thing.
Very much so. Very much so. It's a watch this space. We're just need to get through another week, no injuries, get through this training session with Hawthorn and then the game against St Kilda, and then just, no incidents. That we've touched wood. We've been okay so far. It hasn't been too bad. And there's always going to be injuries. I get that. It's just part of the sport, but we just need to try and get some.
Technically blame you, because last week you boasted we haven't had any injuries. So cheers, Taz.
Okay, sorry.
Cheers, mate.
Some other bits of good news. So some of your favorite shows are returning as of next week. So next Tuesday, the Almost Blues Brothers will be returning to the airwaves. So have a listen out to that. I will be recording with the boys on Sunday, and they will be back. So I'm very excited for that. And we've got a few other shows that will be making their return. The Jumper Punch will be back soon. Pommy's watch-alongs will be back. I know that they're already going on right now, but I feel like they go up another level once the AFL season starts for the men. So
I never have an off-season.
No. What for?
Yeah, I'm here.
Forgot to mention, the best part about the AFLW game was I got a bobblehead.
Hey! The bobblehead. The bobblehead, he's chuffed, isn't he?
So that'll do it. Pommy, there's an hour. Guys, good to have you back. We're slowly getting into it a bit more every week. Great news today with Sam Walsh. Hopefully the women can put in a better performance this week and actually represent the club in the way that it needs to be represented and should be represented. And we'll leave it there. We'll see you throughout the week.